Uncle Jack was always the black sheep of the family. While everyone else chased money and status in the city, he lived quietly on his dusty ranch in West Texas, tending to his small herd of cattle and keeping to himself. I was the only one who visited him regularly, learning about the land and listening to his stories over coffee on his rickety porch. "Emma," he'd say, his weathered face crinkling with a knowing smile, "sometimes the real treasure isn't what you can see on the surface." I never understood what he meant until 3 months ago when his lawyer called with the news that changed everything. "My name is Emma Martinez, and this is the story of how my uncle's worthless inheritance turned my life upside down and exposed the true nature of my husband's family." The reading of Uncle Jack's will took place on a scorching July afternoon. I sat alone in Mr. Peterson's law office, not surprised that none of my in-laws had bothered to come. They'd always looked down on Uncle Jack, considering him an embarrassment to their precious social status. "Miss Emma," Mr. Peterson began, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses, "your Uncle Jack left you something rather specific." He pulled out a thick envelope. "The Double J Ranch, all 5,000 acres including mineral and water rights, along with this letter." My hands trembled as I opened the envelope, recognizing Uncle Jack's messy scrawl. "Dear Emma, you were the only one who saw the value in an old man's company and the beauty in this seemingly barren land. Now it's yours, all of it. Remember what I taught you about looking deeper than the surface. There's more to this ranch than meets the eye. Take care of it and it'll take care of you. Love, Uncle Jack. P.S. Don't let those city vultures pressure you into selling. Trust your gut." I drove straight to the ranch after leaving the lawyer's office, my mind spinning. The property was larger than I'd realized, stretching far beyond the small area where Uncle Jack had kept his cattle. Most of it was undeveloped, covered in scrubby brush and rocky outcroppings. My husband Michael's reaction that evening was predictable. "Sell it," he said immediately, not even looking up from his phone. "That land is worthless except for maybe grazing, and the ranch house is falling apart." "I want to keep it," I replied quietly. "Uncle Jack left it to me for a reason." Michael finally looked up, his expression a mixture of pity and frustration. "Emma, be practical. We live in Houston. What are you going to do with a ranch 5 hours away? Besides, my parents might be interested in buying it for their real estate portfolio." Yes, my in-laws. The wealthy Harises, who'd never let me forget that I came from the wrong side of society. Barbara and Richard Harris had built their fortune in real estate development, turning vast tracts of Texas land into luxury subdivisions and shopping centers. They'd never approved of their Harvard-educated son marrying a public school teacher, especially one with relatives like Uncle Jack. The following Sunday at our mandatory family dinner, the trap was sprung. "Emma, darling," Barbara drawled, her perfectly manicured hands clasping her wine glass, "we heard about your uncle's property." He said the word like it was distasteful. "Richard and I have been discussing it and we'd like to help you out." Richard Harris nodded sagely. "That ranch is a liability, Emma. Property taxes, maintenance costs, not to mention the distance. We're prepared to offer you $50,000 cash. That's more than generous for worthless desert land." I felt Michael stiffen beside me, knowing he'd been part of this plan. His sister Amanda smirked from across the table. "Really, Emma, what else could you possibly do with it? It's not like you know anything about ranching." "Thank you," I said carefully, "but I'm not interested in selling." The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Barbara's smile became brittle. "Don't be foolish, dear. You can't possibly manage that property. Besides, the land out there is worthless. Nothing but dust and rattlesnakes." "Uncle Jack seemed to manage just fine," I replied, standing up. "Now if you'll excuse me, I'm not feeling well." That night Michael and I had our first real fight in 5 years of marriage. "They're trying to help," he shouted. "Why do you have to be so stubborn?" "Help themselves, you mean?" I fired back. "Why are they so interested in worthless land?" "Because they feel sorry for you." "God, Emma, why can't you just accept that my family knows better than some old ranch hand about real estate?" I left the next morning for the ranch, needing time to think. As I drove through the property, Uncle Jack's words kept echoing in my head about looking deeper than the surface. Standing on the rocky rise behind the ranch house, I noticed something odd about the vegetation patterns in the northern section. My phone buzzed, a text from Michael. "Mom and Dad raising offer to $75,000. Please be reasonable." I was about to reply when another message came through. This one from an unknown number. Ms. Martinez, I represent Lone Star Energy. We've been trying to reach you about your property. Would you be interested in meeting? That's when everything started to make sense. The rushed offers, the pressure to sell, the insistence that the land was worthless. I did a quick search on my phone, looking up recent energy surveys in the area. What I found made my heart race. Uncle Jack had known. He'd known all along. I spent the next week quietly gathering information, making calls, and piecing together what my in-laws had tried so hard to hide. I also hired a security company to install cameras around the property and document everyone who came and went. It paid off sooner than I expected. 10 days after refusing the Harisa's offer, I caught Richard and his development company's geologist trespassing on the northern section of the ranch. The security cameras captured everything, including their excited conversations about core samples and survey results. They thought they were so clever trying to steal what Uncle Jack had protected for years. But they'd made one crucial mistake. They underestimated the quiet public school teacher who'd spent years learning every inch of this land from the man they'd dismissed as a worthless old rancher. Now it was time to show them exactly how much that education was worth. The morning after catching Richard and his geologist on my property, I received another offer from the Harises. $200,000 this time, with a note saying I needed to decide within 24 hours. Their desperation was showing. I called in sick to school and drove to Austin instead, straight to the Texas Railroad Commission's offices. 4 hours of research confirmed what I'd suspected. Uncle Jack had commissioned a geological survey of the ranch 6 months before he died. The results were sealed, but the timing lined up perfectly with a massive shale oil discovery in the region. My next stop was the office of Sarah Chin, one of the state's top mineral rights attorneys. I'd found her name in Uncle Jack's papers, along with a sticky note saying, "Trust her." "Your uncle was a smart man," Sarah said, reviewing the documentation I'd brought. "He knew what was coming. That's why he left you such specific instructions about the mineral rights." "The Harises know, don't they?" I asked. "About what's under the ranch?" Sarah nodded, pulling up a map on her computer. "Lone Star Energy's surveys suggest your ranch sits on one of the largest untapped oil deposits in West Texas. Conservative estimates value the mineral rights alone at over $50 million. My head spun. Why didn't Uncle Jack develop it himself? Jack was an environmentalist at heart, Sarah explained. He didn't want traditional drilling destroying his land. But the new extraction technologies Lone Star Energy is developing? They're much cleaner with minimal surface impact. She smiled. He was waiting for the right time and the right person. I left Sarah's office with a plan and a team of experts behind me. Over the next week, we gathered evidence of the Harises' attempted corporate espionage, documented every manipulative tactic they'd used, and prepared for what would come next. Michael's text messages became increasingly frantic. "Emma, please be reasonable. Mom and Dad can go to $500,000 now. Why aren't you answering my calls? Don't make this difficult." I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I focused on learning everything I could about modern oil extraction, environmental protection, and land management. Uncle Jack's ranch hands proved invaluable, sharing years of knowledge about the property and its hidden features. Then came the moment that changed everything. Barbara Harris, in her infinite arrogance, decided to host a charity gala at their mansion. The theme? Preserving Texas Heritage. The guest list included everyone who was anyone in Houston's energy and real estate circles. Of course, I was pointedly not invited. I showed up anyway. The valet did a double take at my dusty ranch truck but took my keys without comment. I'd traded my usual casual wear for a sleek black dress, heels, and the single strand of pearls Uncle Jack had given me for my college graduation. The Harises' faces when I walked into their glittering ballroom were priceless. "Emma." Barbara's voice carried across the room, tight with false warmth. "What a surprise. I hope you don't mind," I said sweetly, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. I thought this would be the perfect venue to announce some news about preserving Texas heritage. Richard appeared at his wife's side, face darkening. "This isn't the time or place." Actually, a new voice cut in. "It's exactly the right time and place." Jason Turner, CEO of Lone Star Energy, walked up beside me. "Mrs. Martinez and I have some exciting news to share." The room quieted as Jason took the microphone. I watched the blood drain from Richard's face as my new business partner announced our groundbreaking partnership. A state-of-the-art clean energy extraction project, coupled with a massive wildlife preservation initiative on the Double J Ranch. Thanks to Mrs. Martinez's commitment to responsible development, Jason continued, we'll be implementing new technologies that allow us to access resources while maintaining the ranch's natural beauty. The project is expected to generate thousands of jobs and billions in revenue over the next decade. The crowd burst into applause. I saw Michael across the room, his expression a mixture of shock and dawning comprehension. Barbara and Richard stood frozen, their social masks cracking as they watched their peers congratulate me. But I wasn't done yet. One more announcement, I said, taking the microphone. In honor of my Uncle Jack's dedication to education and environmental stewardship, I'm establishing the Double J Foundation. We'll be providing scholarships for underprivileged students and grants for sustainable agriculture research. I paused, smiling directly at Barbara. After all, we must preserve Texas heritage for future generations. The aftermath was spectacular. Richard's trespassing and attempted corporate espionage became public knowledge, leading to an SEC investigation of his development company. Barbara's social standing crumbled as people realized how they'd tried to swindle their own daughter-in-law. Amanda's snide comments about worthless desert land became a running joke in Houston's social circles. As for Michael, he tried to apologize, claiming he'd known nothing about his parents' schemes. Maybe he was telling the truth, maybe not. Either way, his blind trust in his parents and complete dismissal of my judgment had revealed something fundamental about our marriage. The divorce was finalized 3 months later. I kept the ranch, of course. These days the Double J Ranch is thriving. The old ranch house has been restored, but I kept Uncle Jack's rickety porch exactly as it was. Every morning I drink my coffee there, watching the sun rise over land that's both preserved and productive. The oil extraction wells are nearly invisible, hidden behind natural features and newly planted trees. The cattle still graze peacefully, now joined by a growing herd of rescued horses that are part of the Foundation's youth therapy program. Last week I received a letter from Barbara. Inside was a newspaper clipping about the Double J Foundation's latest initiative and a brief note. We were wrong about you. And about Jack. I didn't respond. Instead, I added the clipping to the scrapbook I'm creating for the ranch's museum, a reminder that true value isn't always visible on the surface. Uncle Jack's last lesson turned out to be his greatest. Sometimes the richest treasures are found in the places others dismiss as worthless, whether it's land, people, or dreams. The key is having the patience to look deeper and the courage to stand your ground when others try to take what's yours. The Foundation's motto, displayed proudly at the ranch's entrance, says it all. Looking deeper, reaching higher, preserving what matters. As I write this from Uncle Jack's old office, now modernized but still keeping its rustic charm, I can almost hear his laugh. He'd appreciate how things turned out. Not just the vindication, but how his worthless land is now creating opportunities for others who, like me, just need someone to believe in their potential. The Harises still live in Houston, though they're rarely seen at major social events anymore. I hear Barbara has taken up gardening, finally learning to appreciate the value of working with the land rather than just exploiting it. Richard's development company survives, though under new management and with strict environmental oversight. Sometimes I wonder if they ever drive out this way, looking at the thriving ranch they tried to steal and thinking about what they lost, not just the money, but the chance to be part of something truly meaningful. Their loss. Their very, very expensive loss,